This recorded video is an interview with Michael Ross about his experience with RETScreen. RETScreen is the clean energy software platform developed by the Government of Canada. First, a few words about Michael. Michael has a Bachelor of Applied Sciences in Systems Design Engineering from the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. He has been working as a researcher and consultant in photovoltaics and wind energy for several organizations in Canada and Finland. He now works in his own consulting firm. During the last 20 years, he has been teaching courses in solar and wind feasibility and performance analysis using RETScreen software. These include courses in Canada, France, USA, Ecuador, Mali, Somaliland, and Zambia. He regularly teaches RETScreen seminars through universities in Canada and the USA. He has also developed RETScreen course materials for other organizations, including RETScreen International itself. So hello, Michael. Michael Ross, thank you to take your time for this interview. Tell me,
my pleasure.
For how long have you been using RETScreen, and what are the circumstances about this? Why did you use it in the first place?
I've been using it for about 20 years. I can't remember the exact circumstances under which I started using it. It would have either been in training, actually providing training to people interested in renewables and needing a tool that was a good introduction to renewable energy and later on energy efficiency, but at the beginning renewable energy. Or it would have been as a very quick and easy source of data and a tool for doing very quick analyses of projects. So kind of checking more involved analyses very quickly with a tool like RETScreen.
I see. So you have been using it mostly for training, but also in some cases for projects. Tell me more about your training experience. So how many people did you get? What is the reaction of students for why is it so important to use this tool for training?
I've trained more people than I can actually, count with RETScreen. Maybe over 100 or 200 sessions. I don't know, and it's been actually on 4 or 5 continents, different training sessions, many different countries, in a couple different languages. So it's been a lot of different opportunities there. I think it's really successful in training because it is a fairly easy to use tool that covers many of the aspects associated with clean energy projects. So it isn't specialized in a particular aspect. It covers the whole range of topics that arise in clean energy projects. So I think for training, it's a very good way to introduce people to many of the important aspects of a clean energy project and provide them with a tool that allows them to deal with those aspects in a quantitative way as opposed to a qualitative way. Because the quantitative aspect of it allows people to come to their own conclusions based on their own assumptions rather than having to accept the assertions or affirmations of someone else who maybe they don't trust. But if they can look at things quantitatively using their own assumptions, they can determine, does this make sense for me or not? So I think that's why it's a great training tool, because it allows people to investigate using their own assumptions, coming to their own conclusions.
I see. And your students, they were from university, they were from companies, I guess both.
Yeah.
How do university students, how do you use it with them? How do you deal with RETScreen training? With case studies? How do you start?
Yeah, I almost use exclusively case studies because to learn how to use a software tool, I think the best approach is to use the tool, not to see someone talking about how to use the tool. So I typically try and come up with situations that reflect projects that I've run into in the real world and encapsulate them in a case study, a simplified version typically, and then ask the students to work through that and come up with some answers to some questions. And I think that works very well for university students. It's been very well received in my experience.
Okay. And these are graduate, undergraduate, both? No.
Yeah, typically the courses that I'm giving at the university level are graduate level courses, like master's level courses. Yeah. I regularly give these courses at a number of different universities. But I've also given courses in the United States through Virginia Tech Cooperative Extension. So that's a university where the students are all people who are already graduated and are working in the field, and you're helping them. Yeah.
I see, I see. And in the company training, you also, I guess, did that?
Oh, yeah.
For specific problems, solving problems? What type of problem the company like to solve, in fact?
Well, it really varies from one company to the next. There are companies that, for instance, specialize in renewables, and they'll want to see only applications or case studies related to renewables. And there's others that are managing, a building or a group of buildings, and their interest is typically energy efficiency or tracking their energy performance in their buildings. So those audiences, in terms of the types of case studies they want to see.
I saw that RETScreen is also a basis for IPMVP, so for audits. It has been coming more recently in the tool, and
yeah.
I think that's quite useful, isn't it, for that purpose?
Yeah, I think so. I don't personally focus on the formal protocol for how you do that type of analysis. I try and teach the basic ideas and get people to have a better intuition and understanding, because I think afterwards they can go back and look at the protocol and see how that protocol fits with their understanding. But if they don't have a good understanding of how, what a regression equation is, how they're using predictions versus measured data, either in a control chart or in a Q-sum, then they'll just be following a protocol blindly.
Yeah. Yeah, coming back to the benefits of RETScreen, yeah, it was said that RETScreen says you save time, you save money doing feasibility analysis. But is that really true?
Yeah.
Do you save something? Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly think you do. You can do quick pre-feasibility studies, or for very simple projects, feasibility studies, very fast. For a photovoltaic project, I can do a study in 10 minutes if I have, access to reasonable data. Yeah. So that's fast enough that, even if someone asks a very simple question, I can do the whole analysis in 10 minutes and say, well, there's the answer to your question. And if you don't like the answer, what is it about these assumptions you didn't like? And we can change them, right? So I think that does save time and money rather than doing a study. My background is engineering, so I have a tendency to often use kind of more powerful tools as well, but it takes a lot longer to do these types of analyses with a more powerful tool. And you can also make mistakes with the more powerful tools because their use is more complicated. So with RETScreen, I can see very quickly, is this a reasonable result or not? And I can even use it to check those more complicated in-depth studies or analyses. And that also saves me time and money.
Yeah, more complicated tools. A professor, a friend of mine says, I prefer to use PVSys because I already use it for PV analysis. But perhaps he misses the point that in RETScreen there is also the economic analysis. So what is your feeling about that? Is that useful? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest strengths in feasibility analysis with RETScreen is the financial analysis section. It has been fixed in more or less the current form for about 20 years. And I think that reflects that it was very well thought out 20 years ago to allow you to enter just the right amount of information so that it doesn't ask for too much input from you and provides you with the most critical outputs that allow you to quickly assess things like profitability, cash flows, quickness of return. And that's what you really want to know. And also financing, whether you're going to be able to get financing based on internal rate of return on assets. So it gives you the right outputs. It asks for the minimum amount of inputs. It's very clearly laid out. And I think that's one of its strengths compared with engineering tools that typically do a lousy job on the financial analysis.
Yeah, you don't get this type of knowledge with the professional tools. Yeah, that definitely. And they are done by engineers and not by economists. So.
That's precisely right. Yeah. And engineers typically aren't that strong in financial analysis. So they can put in the right equations, but in a way that's not clear in how it's being presented. So that's, I think, the financial analysis of RETScreen is one of its biggest strengths for sure.
I see. And for project, did you use it also? You said at the beginning you had some project work. What is your experience on that?
I have from time to time been hired by firms, for instance, that are looking at the pre-feasibility or the feasibility level, for instance, for solar projects in North Africa, in Canada, in Mexico, other places too, and definitely have used, actually in Middle East as well, and definitely have used RETScreen to come up with quick overview analyses of these projects. And then sometimes certain aspects of that require further investigation with other tools, but the overall overview of what's possible is presented in the RETScreen analysis.
I see. So it's great for feasibility or pre-feasibility, yes.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And performance analysis too, right?
Afterwards, yes.
Afterwards, okay.
You mean? I mean, after the project is. When I say afterwards, I mean after the project is there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've definitely had clients who have used the performance analysis to track photovoltaic systems. So they're not necessarily the very large photovoltaic systems where they might have very specialized tools. They just have a number of smaller photovoltaic systems and they want to track the performance. And they've used RETScreen successfully for that, and I've showed them how to do that. I've also definitely had to use it because it was a requirement for projects that were applying for incentives related to energy efficiency. And it was required that you show the energy savings in a typical climatological year. So you had to take your actual energy savings and show what they would have been if you were in a typical climatological year, not in the particular meteorological year that you actually measured those savings. So RETScreen is a great tool for normalizing for climate.
Indeed, yeah.
It's set up for that. It's very fast, easy to do.
Yeah, which you would not do with a professional tool, not the same way. It would be
you can do it in Excel, but it'll take you a day, right? Where you can do it in RETScreen in 10 minutes.
Yeah, sure. I'm surprised though that although there are many users of RETScreen, when you speak to companies, I was in the Congress, and they didn't know about RETScreen.
Yeah.
Although they work on renewable and they work on energy efficiency, but they don't know about it. So I think it's important to make it known. But what better job could we do to make it known, to your opinion?
Yeah. I really don't know because my background is engineering, not marketing or not distribution. So I'm not good in that. I guess the one thing that I do there is I provide a lot of training. And I think if people are comfortable using a tool because they feel they understand how it works, then they're more liable to recommend it to others and to use it themselves. So I think by providing what I hope is good training, it stimulates interest in tools like RETScreen. And I think also once you learn how to use a tool like RETScreen, you understand the concepts behind performance analysis, behind feasibility analysis. You can use another tool if you so wish. The concepts are transferable to other tools if you prefer to use another tool. So I don't insist that people use RETScreen, but they should be using that type of analysis. And RETScreen's a good tool, so why not?
Regarding your student, do you have feedback from them when they go to professional life, whether they will continue either to use your teaching, which is what people like as professors, or whether they also use the tools you've been teaching them?
I don't keep in touch with a lot of these students because I'm not a university professor. When I teach at universities, I'm being invited by professors to teach for a day or two at their universities.
I get it.
So I don't get to follow up with the students, but I do sometimes hear people contact me later on and say, oh, I have, this question or this issue. And and by the way, I was a student at such and such a university when you presented RETScreen there. Of course, I will have forgotten them typically, but it is nice to hear.
They use, yes, fine, great, indeed. Well, I think these were most questions I wanted to ask you today.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Michael, for
my pleasure.
Your answers, and looking forward to meet you in the future.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.